Okay, this is the Dow Jones, and again we've just put up this old channel that it broken out of, and we can see this week it's come back up and revisited the underbelly of that channel at the moment on a bit of no demand. It's not a true no demand because the spread's really wide, so but still on decreasing volume. Let's have a look. If we just zoom in on the I'll just put the fibs up briefly on there, and that's taken from the low to the high here, and we've got the support on the 38 fib retracement, so that's work there. Before that it was on the 33.3, and the high was the 21.1, so it's sort of roughly been in between those in that area, and it's still holding that pattern. This last low down, and we do have a lower low at the moment, has been on the close of this high volume bar. I had the high of that bar marked off previously. I just found some support, gone down and tagged the close of that bar, so that's interesting. Here was our previous area of distribution, accumulation, and that's where it's found some support on top of that. So we'll just zoom into the more current action. So we had our high volume down, our shakeout, closed high, so it must have been buying, and there must have been some buying in there as well to close off the low. Still plenty of supply, but then pushed down further into that bar, found less supply, and that's created a spring. No demand as it's tried to rise back up into the body of our gotcha bar. We call this the gotcha bar, and it's basically locking this whole top into bad positions, and they could continue to press down, but on less volume, creates a spring down, and it's gone up on no demand, and they push further down, and it's created a nice spring up as demand overcomes supply, and albeit on no demand, a bit of no demand. So that's that's on the weekly chart. We'll have a look at the daily. Let's see what's happened here. There's a really strong bar there, down bar, really high volume. The next bar closes high, so there's buying and accumulation happening in this bar. Smart money typically buy on down bars. It's created this spring, but as it gets to the top here, you see the volume decreases and it starts to roll back down, and that's because once they start accumulating, it can take a while for them to complete, and so they're interested in the lower prices definitely, but not so much in paying higher prices just yet. And it slams down on high volume, but the closes compress to the downside, and then it springs up, and you get your no demand as it tries to press further into the gotcha bar, and then it collapses. But we're seeing the volume getting less now as it tests back into the body of this bar, and it's been doing pretty much that. We did get a really weak bar here, which was this one here, on really high volume, and it was confirmed by an upthrust. They upthrusted, so that was probably our best short setup. There was clearly a short setup out of the lot, but anyway, it's come down again on high volume, and this time the volume's picked up a bit, but it sprung up. Then we had a shakeout again, gone down on increasing volume, and then it sprung up again, and this time it sprung a fair ways up. But at the moment we're still getting, even though we're getting less and less volume to the downside, there's still, the supply is still present. There's still a lot of selling, and even though there's buying in the bottom there's still a bit of selling there, and albeit less than there was over here on the original shakeout. It's still there, and we're still getting increased volume as price goes down and decreasing volume as it rises. So that's the one thing to be aware of. And you see our high volume bar has pretty much defined the range, and we've gone above and below sort of roughly by the same amount. Probably not so, probably more evident on our weekly chart. If we have a look at our really high volume bar, you've got, I should mark the low of that, ducked down a bit below it, we've ducked up a bit above it, about the same amount. So that's where we're at the moment. Okay, so we'll zoom in onto this last couple of weeks. So we had the shakeout, low volume down as they tried to press further down, and they're trying to press further down into, go back a little bit more, this previous area of accumulation. So as it's tried to dip further down into that area, it's closed high, and it's closed. The first bar is closing down on low volume, and there must have been hidden buying absorbing that selling in that bar for the next bar to close higher. So then that's given us a nice little spring up, albeit on decreasing volume. So we'll zoom in a bit more, wrong way. We'll just see, so we had high volume down, next bar up on high volume, so demand overcoming supply, and then we've absorbed a lot of the supply, and that's enabled it to go up even though it's on less volume. There must have been a lot of supply or floating supply taken out of them, sucked out of the market for it to do that, and they haven't sold into it again. They've just let it rise, and we get some really light volume. It's a widespread but really light volume to the top of this. We've had this speculative downtrend channel, popped up, given it a little test. Next bar was up, but it's on increased volume but closed in the middle, and that's as it attacks this high over here. And we're looking for a, because of this decreasing volume, we're sort of, it's inviting us to go long, but it's also inviting us to go short, isn't it? Saying, oh, it's decreasing volume, we should go short. So we're looking for possible short setup to eventuate. So we've got, and what we're looking for was a stop hunt above here to give us some sort of clue that maybe they're wanting to take it down. I sort of got a little bit there, but it's not really clear. We wanted that to close low and maybe a bit more volume. But anyway, it's gone up, caught supply, and they've tested. Not a very good one, but it's tested. And then the next bar is up on really light volume now, but it hasn't really set up. So we've got, what we wanted to see is these no demands and an upthrust under this really weak area here, and it's sort of just dribbled over there now. So it's gone up on decreasing volume very rapidly, but as it's come up to this area now, a previous weakness, it started to struggle a bit. Well, it's made 200 points, I suppose, in 4 days, which is, you know, the spread of an average spread of one day that we've been getting at the moment. So that's looking a little vulnerable there, but it hasn't really set up weak for us properly. For a setup, for a short setup, we're looking, well, we've got an initial weakness here, not a good one, because we've got an up move behind us and the volume's not that high, and it's just a weak bar. It's not particularly weak, not as weak as this one over here. But anyway, we've got supply coming in, followed immediately by no demand, so that's 2. And we would be looking now for a final stop hunt, which would be, you know, an upthrust like this, but a bit higher up, maybe. Either on really low volume or really high volume, doesn't really matter. And that would possibly give us a short entry, and preferably we'd want it to drop. We'd want it to drop first and then try and upthrust that area again and be rejected, and that would give us a short setup, I think, for but I don't know where to, because we're starting to get well, we've got a high volume bar there that hasn't really been tested, so we could possibly aim for that. We probably could go to 50 fib between, oh, The 50 fib between there and there would give us around the 11,000 mark. And really we have the high of this high volume bar here possibly might give us some support. We can look for some sort of testing at a higher low. That would be good, but at the moment it's not really setting up nice for us. We'd like to see some weakness like we've seen at the moment under this really weak area here, and it's just dribbled over there, so it's not playing nice for us. We're right at the getting up to it. We've got a couple of pivots above us. We've got this one over here, the last high, just above there. And that's a danger with going short there. You've got is that they can quite, because there's not a lot of supply about at the moment, they can quite easily up thrust and take your stops out. And I think if they were going to go down, take it down, that's what they'd do first. So that's the danger there. So we want a really good setup to appear before we short it, because we have got an up move behind us. So we've got to pay attention to our stronger looking bars, which are these tests, until we get a really nice short setup, which would be supply coming in, 1, no demand, and 3 would be the up thrust. So we're looking for that to eventuate if we're looking to go short, but at the moment there's no real entry there at the moment. We've got the high here. If we're looking to go long, I mean, it's inviting us to participate. They're telling us you're going to miss out. It's going all the way up here, and it's because it's had a really big move, but really you don't want to be buying right here, right under these pivots. Here you got the last low here, which is also taken from this high volume bar here. And there's some effort exerted to get through there in the past as well. So that's right above at 11. Where's that? Well, that's 11,867. So it can possibly go scoping up there yet. Even if it was going to collapse, it could still go scoping up there first. You've got the low of the bar, which is 11,770, and then you've got the 11,726 roughly, which is the high, or 11,712. Around 11,700 is the high of our last pivot as well, just sitting above there. So we're sort of not quite there yet as far as looking to short it. And for the long side, well, for the long side, it is still looking weak at the top here. Our strong bar was at the bottom. It didn't really set up long for us because we didn't get any testing come back down into that area, but still, you would have had long setups on the intraday, definitely, if you trade intraday like myself. But now as it's got to this top area of previous weakness, it's starting to, we're not making a lot of progress compared to what we have been making. And the danger is going long there, is if you got this widespread bar like we had, we just compare, some no demand, and they've kicked up a little bit of volume. That's basically taken out the stops that are sitting above this previous area here, and then you've lost the whole lot in 3 days weighing. Did it again here, no demand coming up, and it took a few days to roll. This time their intention was very clear. You had really high volume there, a lot of weak, narrow spread, a lot of weakness, and then they up thrust and rejects that area, and you had a good short there, and that collapsed in 2 days. We had no demand, it's collapsed. Now we've had no demand, but it's just kept going up this time. But now it's starting to look like a bit toppy now, because we're not making a lot of progress. It's starting to look a bit more like these other areas over here. And we're taking out stops above this previous high, and that's the danger that's what they're doing for the long side at the moment. So we're still looking for some light volume coming down, followed by slight increasing volume going up, and we're not quite seeing that at the moment. What else can we see? So really there is the wrong spot, probably taking an entry one way or the other right at the top of that range. We don't really know what the intention is, but whatever it is, they're going to try and misstep us and wrong foot us. They're inviting us to go long with the price movement. They're inviting us to go short with the lack of volume, and they're going to try and wrong foot both sides. I think if they're going to take it down, they're going to up thrust first and take out the stops before taking it down, or and then if they do that, then possibly they may only take it down not as far as we think. We just have to see. So we had the light movement up, and a lot of that would be short covering, so adding to that buying as the stops are getting taken out, but that can only take you so far. So definitely professional buying in the bottom here, absorbing supply, but at the top here, not so much professional buying, not a lot of participation at all, and we don't know what the next move is yet, and they're not. We're getting some weak bars there, but we don't have a short setup quite yet. So we're just on the lookout now for something high probability to eventuate. If they do take it down, they'll take out all these they'll take out this whole area of no demand. You know, this whole lack of it area, and possibly even that bar as well there. But otherwise, we just have to wait for something to set up properly and play it by ear. But we're really at the top of a range now, and it hasn't set up weak enough yet to short it. It is weak, but it hasn't given us the setup that we're looking for. And for the long side, well, it's just at the top of a range. It's probably not the safest place to be taking an entry. So that's all we can say about that. They're not giving us too much clue, but my suspicion is that it's got to come back and test again back into this shakeout here. That's what I suspect is happening. What I think is happening is it's gone up on no demand, and then this is rolling over, and it'll take out this whole area of no demand, including this bar here. So I'll be watching the high at the high of this high volume bar here for sure. If they start getting some really light volume on top of there, that might be promising for the long side. But in this most recent lot of high volume, that's what I suspect it'll come down to first, and then we'll have a look. But at the moment on the daily, we don't have a high low on the daily. We do have a higher high now. So we'll just have to see how that works out. But nothing high probability there as far as taking a new entry at the moment. And we'll just have to watch and see how that goes, other than the fact that it's looking toppy at the moment, volume wise.